Hello, this is the real Tariq from Cargo, and in this video I'm presenting to you how to start building workflows on the tool. By the end of this walkthrough, you'll know how to enroll a contact from the CRM, enrich it using LinkedIn and Datagma, upsert it back to the CRM, and then ping sales rep on Slack. First though, let's take a step back, understand what Cargo is for. So we built Cargo as a workflow builder for sales and marketing teams to leverage customer data, which is usually spread across different tools in silos. Before, bringing this data together to build effective messaging at the right time to the right prospect required a lot of expensive engineering resources. Our mission is to remove this technical barrier and give back the power to these teams to build powerful workflows themselves. So let's dive in. In front of us we have the main workflow home, and I can simply start a new workflow using this green button. And so immediately I'm presented with the question, do I wish to start with a blank template or one of the template workflows built by one of our community members? In this case, let's start from scratch. I can press next, and then the second question, which model should this workflow be based on? Every Cargo workflow requires a data table to feed it, and in this case I have my CRM connector set up, and within that a contacts object, which is perfect for this workflow. So I can just press create, and in a few seconds I arrive on the main workflow editor. So the workflow editor works a bit like a canvas. The canvas has components which we call nodes, such as the one in front of you. Nodes are very simple. They have two jobs. Number one, to capture data. Number two, to execute logic that you've built to service the need for whichever you've built your workflow for. So luckily I have a recipe here that I've set up for us, so we can continue. So it's pretty simple. It's a bunch of nodes connected in a sequence. We take a contact from the CRM, we enrich it using LinkedIn Datagma, and we do some allocation, absorption logic before we ping someone on Slack. So let's look at the start node to begin with. So the start node is in fact a special node because it serves to take one record from my CRM contacts object, and we will use the information in this record to set the schema for every other node in the workflow to capture data from. So in this case, I have one example. If I had wanted to change this example, I can simply press this button, select another one, and we'd be good to go. Perfect. So now that the sample is changed, we can go to the rest of the nodes. Now, every node will require an input, and after being executed will throw out an output with some data. So in this case, just to illustrate how this works, I can use the autocomplete feature and search within the start node the field needed. And so if I was to go here and type LinkedIn URL, I see this field looks right, and I can go ahead. So I can play this node, and this should give me an output for everything LinkedIn knows about this particular person. Excellent. So I know this successfully went through because I can see the check mark here and the check mark here. Otherwise this would have been red and would have given me a message. I also know that I've just spent one Cargo credit to make this execution because of this little symbol here. And now I can proceed. This was just one node execution, but obviously I also want to play the rest of my workflow to make sure everything works together neatly. So I can press the black play button here, and this should run all of the nodes until we encounter a failure. And so within a few seconds, this goes through. And now it seems like we're more or less happy with the way it's working, and I can proceed to publishing this workflow. So publishing is done via this green button, and once I set this up, my local workflow draft so far will become the global version upon which any future runs will be run. So if I press publish, I get asked a couple of questions about programmatic enrollment. Right? So by default, interval is the chosen type, and that means that on a given schedule, in this case every 12 hours, the workflow will resync. It will look for any relevant changes in the data table in the CRM and will then enroll those records into the workflow when the right changes are found. I am also asked if I want to put a filter, and in this case I can choose something simple like company size. I only want to keep records where we know their company size, and this will create a smaller version of the original table where this condition is met. I'm also asked one last question about the behavior. So should I only enroll changes henceforth, or should we include all of the records that meet the criteria today? In this case, I'm going to choose the first option because I'm going to do some manual enrollments in a second. So once I'm good with this, I can publish. And I noticed that as soon as I publish for the first time, my workflow becomes automatically enabled. So that means that now it's automatically looking for relevant changes to enroll. If I go to my runs view, best practice often is after publishing to make a small batch of runs just to make sure that we haven't missed any logic through our sample tests. So usually I would go and enroll a bunch of records. So let's say here I can remove this filter and just choose 5 records to push through my workflow. And so these are the 5 that will go through. If I press enroll and confirm that I want to go ahead, this should now create in a few seconds 5 new runs through my workflow. There you go. So these are running and should complete shortly. Meanwhile, if I wanted to have a closer look at the path that some records take through the workflow, I can press the expand button here, and this should take me to this diagram which tells me, okay, this node went through this one as well, so on and so forth. If any of the nodes would have errored, I would have seen a red mark here, and on clicking I would have gotten more information. Excellent. So those 5 have gone through, and these were all successful in this case. But if I spotted an error, what I would do again is look at what causes the error. I would go and fix it, republish, and then I could simply choose a record here and press retry, which will run the record again, but this time on the updated logic. By default, the workflow will resume from where the error happened, but I could also change that using this toggle. So if I press confirm, this would go through. And there you go. So that's our basic loop for building your first flow. Now, what I recommend that you do from this point is, number 1, use one of those community templates we saw earlier and have a go yourself. And if you want to learn more about these concepts that we've just briefly visited, I would recommend the documentation which you can access from this sidebar here. Thank you.